Hello, everybody. My name is Tyler, and I did this movements assignment on the Cambridge Public Library Teen Room. So in this presentation, I will be talking about the use of space and furnishings that are in the Cambridge Public Library Teen Room. Well, the framework that we all used for this assignment is the forest-based model. So it's basically has four items in this model: inspiration, learning, performance, and meeting spaces. And this kind of interconnected circles is just meant to demonstrate how all these spaces are interconnected. No, none of these spaces are going to be mutually exclusive to one area of the room or library. So everything is related. And so in the teen room, it's important to find spaces that are flexible and can be transformed from one to another, that can be transformed from a learning space to performance space to meeting space, inspiration space, especially when you don't have a lot of room for your dedicated teen space. I know a lot of smaller public libraries will have just maybe not even a room, but like an area. Cambridge Public Library is lucky in that it has a significantly large room that is dedicated for just teens. So this here is the website of the teen section of the Cambridge Public Library. And it just kind of gives you an overview of what the teen room is about. We got kind of a picture to demonstrate what the room looks like if you've never been there before. And then down here, we've got kind of different options if teens are, searching the page. And so this is a little bit more that's also on that team page. It kind of goes over policies. And so there's different options that they have computer technology available, team program events, and also there's a big relationship with the Hive, which is the Cambridge Public Library's makerspace. They have a pretty solid relationship with that. So there's a lot of programming. And then you can see it says that the teen room at the main library exclusively for young people ages 12 to 18, where they can browse collections, study, and socialize. Private study rooms and board games are available too. So when I went to the Cambridge Public Library to kind of take pictures, I had the opportunity to chat with the teen librarian, and we chatted about the policies in the teen room. The room is primarily for teens 12 and 18. However, there is like the occasional leeway for adults that are going in to browse a collection or parents that, go in with kids and so on and stuff like that. But they do make sure that there's no adults that are just kind of setting up camp in the teen room, and that it's a space that only teens can set up and hang and socialize, where there's limited opportunity for adults to come in. They typically should just come in, grab a book they need, and read it. That is a good example of how this teen room is exclusive for the teens. And also one thing I'd like to talk about are the hours of the teen room. So the hours of the teen room are different from the hours of the general library. It tends to open later and close earlier than the library, which makes sense because there's really only one dedicated teen position, which is the teen librarian. And so the library is open more than 40 hours a week. So it's important to like optimize when that teen librarian is available. So we want that person available during hours that, teens are most likely to come. And speaking from my experience as a teen, we know that teens tend to sleep and they don't like getting up in the morning unless it's at school. So with that said, the hours Monday through Thursday, it opens at 11:30 a.m., which makes sense because teens aren't really going to be hanging around going to the library at like 9 a.m. when the actual library opens. And then it's also important to note that there is a high school right next to the main branch of the Cambridge Public Library, which has an open campus policy, which basically means that they can come and go if they don't have a class, so they can leave campus for lunch or a free period or whatnot. So the teen librarian has said that a lot of times teens will come from the high school just to hang out at the public library for lunch or for a free period. So that is why they open at 11:30. And that is kind of around when they have their first lunch periods at the high school. And then the library usually closes around 9 p.m., but the teen room closes at 7, which also again makes sense because not a lot of teens are out at 8, 9 o'clock at night hanging out at the library. So I think that these hours in general are pretty good use of the dedicated teen positions time. And with that said, the dedicated teen position at this library, there is really only one according to the teen librarian at this main branch. There's, I believe, 5 or 6. One I think is closed, but there's only 5 or 6 branch libraries around Cambridge, Massachusetts. And none of those branches have dedicated teen positions, except I think they're currently searching for one because they're about to open a new branch that's also right next to like a middle school. So they're searching for more of a teen services dedicated position. So this is kind of a general overview picture that I took when I was visiting the teen room at the Cambridge Public Library. I organized a time to come and visit before the teen room opened. So I got there at around 10:30. The teen room opens at 11:30. So I got there before any kids showed up, and it was just me and the teen librarian. So I was able to ask them questions. But you can see there's a lot of seating opportunity. We have the rectangular tables up front. We got a staff checkpoint in the middle. Shelving for the collection along the sides, and in the back there's more seating, booths, cafe tables, some other weird chairs. And then this is the view in the other direction. So that's like the front door of the teen library. On either side of the entrance, you can see that they have teen study rooms. And then at the top here, there is a couple of our exhibitions. However, those don't get swapped out very often. Those are kind of a permanent fixture, which we will talk about later. So I'm going to go over some of the individual furnishings and the characteristics that they have that contribute to like a flexible teen room environment. So we got these rectangular tables. The chairs that are with these tables don't have any arm holds, so they're able to move around a lot easier. And then the thing with rectangular tables is that they are flexible and that they can be moved and reoriented a lot. So you can kind of have them individually set up, or you can bring them together to have more of a larger group, or move them around so that they're kind of like set up like desks and you're for like a presentation and everybody sits and looks at a speaker. And then I believe you can see in this picture that this is one of the orientation options. All the tables here are brought together to form one big table. And then the cool thing about this table is that each table comes with a built-in charging station and it has different options depending on what phone or device you have. I think this is specifically for phones. So you have the lightning charger, micro USB. And this is really cool because phones are a big part of teen culture and adult culture at this point too. So having access to free charging is a really cool aspect of this teen room. This is another seating option. We got the high top tables, cafe tables, however you like to call them, also equipped with electricity. So you can see that it has access to a fair amount of thing about these tables. Have pros and cons. I'll start with the cons. The cons first, that they're not super flexible in movement wise. They can't fit a lot of people. They're circular, so they can't really be brought together. So they're not the most flexible piece of furnishing. However, I do enjoy that a high top table does have like the flexibility of, a teen is able to stand or sit, and a lot of teens have, me especially, I have trouble sitting still for the same time for an amount of time. So being able to like kind of like fall in and out of a chair, have like one leg on the floor, one leg up is kind of cool for teens to be able to do. So that's like so pros and cons of the high top table. I would like to see maybe like if it were rectangular and they'd be able to be bought together more, or maybe if there were, just less flexible than the like lower chairs because there's less room, but the height of the table does make it easier to be able to stand. So it's kind of like a standing desk option. All right, here we got the booths, which is another less flexible option for seating. We do have like the square table, which I believe is not bolted into the wall, so it can be moved. However, the actual booth seating, they're pretty chunky and probably difficult to move. But it is like a cool seating option. It's interesting, gives like the diner feel, but I believe the most popular seating option in this library, according to the teen librarian, is one, the cafe tables, and then another one that's coming up. But this year, it has outlets available. Other than that, it's pretty simple. And then these chairs. I do know that apparently these are the most popular chairs in the teen room. They are on a swivel, so they do turn around a lot, which teens love. But other than that, there's not a lot of functionality to it. They're set in this kind of alcove kind of area of the teen room. I believe they said they used to have like bean bags in this area, but then they switched to these chairs. But honestly, I kind of like the idea of bean bags better. It's a lot more flexible seating, more people can sit there. While here, it's just two people, like singular people in these seats. There's no surface to work at. Yeah, I just it's a cool piece of seating and it fills up fast because there's really only two. But I just wish there was more functionality to these chairs. Another fun thing about the Cambridge Public Library Teen Room is the amount of games they have available for the teens. So games, I think, are super important to kind of support the social behavior of teens. It gives them a way to collaborate, express themselves. I, for one, love games. I'm a big proponent for board games because I think it has like critical thinking skills as well. You can see that there's a lot of options available for the teens, and with anything from like a simple game of Battleship to something more of a higher level, like Settlers of Catan. Another thing is that they don't have this in the teen room, but the Cambridge Public Library does also have a collection of video games. These video games are for Nintendo Switch and PS5. I believe they used to house them in the teen room, but they are still pretty popular with adults. So they decided to move them over to like the media center with the movies and audio books and stuff like that. So they're not in the teen room anymore, probably just to keep adults coming in less of a frequent occurrence to get video games. Now let's talk about the shelving. So the cool thing about this shelving is that it's on wheels. Like in the adults departments, you'll see shelves that are, from the floor to like over your head. However, that doesn't really work with teen rooms because you want flexibility with the furnishings that you use. So these shelves are on wheels. This kind of allows you to move them around, move them out of the way. If you have some sort of event, you can just easily push them out of the way. Other than the shelves you can see over here that are just, built into the wall, these ones can be moved easily. Then there are also a lot of carts as well, which again are on wheels and can be moved just as easily. The one thing I would like to talk about in the teen room is the signage in the teen room. In my opinion, it's not that great. They're just, plain signs, nothing that really grabs the attention of teens. I would like to see bigger, kind of more like bigger fonts, screens that really draw teens' attentions and really are explicit, easily readable, and tells you exactly where different things can be found. So these are just a little bit small, a little bit, you know, boring. Maybe like some science hanging from the ceiling, just to, like, have like a general idea of which section the books are in would be better. And now we'll talk about the study rooms. So the study room policy in the teen room is pretty much the same as the rest of the library. So you're allowed to reserve the teen room for 1 hour once a day. And if you're part of a group, that counts as your hours. So like a group of four wouldn't be able to reserve the teen room for 4 hours. You just get it for you're allowed to be in the study room for 1 hour, one per day, and that is it. But the teen room comes with a table and 4 chairs. The max amount of people that you can have in a study room is four. And then this is also the same policy as the rest of the library. To get in, you just have to talk to a staff member and they will let you in or check you in. You cannot reserve a study room. It's on a first come, first serve basis. And so this is just the sign that tells you, it says, if you would like to use a study room, please check in at the teen room staff desk. So if they want, I believe they fill up pretty fast according to the teen librarian. All they have to do is just go to the librarian. If it's available, they'll let you in for an hour, and then that's that. So a couple of the recommendations I had for the library, most had to do with the positioning. So I know the idea was to make recommendations using the existing furnishing fixtures. So this is kind of like, I made a layout of what the library kind of looks like now. You got this alcove in the back, the checkpoint, the tables, booths, tables, and shelving on the side. It's just kind of like a rough idea. And so my recommendations, just based on the idea of the four space model, was space is limited. So you have to be able to make all the furnishings flexible and easily movable. So in my paper, I suggested that we move the rectangular tables to the back. And then, so what is kind of underutilized, in my opinion, is this little alcove area in the back. Right now, that's just where those like awkward green chairs are put. But I think could make like a solid like performance space. And like this little back area would make like a cool little like gallery for that area. So I recommended that we move those rectangular tables to the back. Also, because I think that having those tables just like right smack dab at the front might be a little bit intimidating. So move those to the back, just like to establish kind of like a layer of privacy for the teens. So there's like the checkpoint in between any adults that are coming in or anybody looking to browse the collection. Also, in regards to a meeting space, with the tables back there, they can be reconfigured or whatnot. And so in the other configuration, say there's like a meeting or program going on at these like kind of rectangular tables in the front, people would come in from the front of the room and kind of like have to walk through that meeting area, and that can be a little bit distracting. And we all know that teens can get distracted pretty easily. So I think that by moving the tables to the back, it establishes like anybody coming in to browse a collection, they're not walking directly through the meeting to kind of distract them in order to browse books. So by having the books in the collection up front, it kind of reduces the need for anybody to need to walk through a program or some sort of activity that's going on. And so, as I said, it can also like function as a meeting space. Where this like alcove is kind of like a stage. So if they wanted to like set up like, I don't know, like open mic or some sort of poetry or whatnot, they can like use that on the stage and kind of set up like a cafe performance area, and it would be kind of cool. So these changes would kind of function as like a change from meeting space, as well as like a learning space. And then regards to the performance space, so if we go back to the beginning of the presentation, we can see that this is kind of the only like display area for art in the teen room. This, however, is not like commonly switched up art. It's a kind of a permanent installation. That's not great. One of like the aspects that a teen room, one of the characteristics a teen room should have is like neutrality. So I think that a display area is great. However, it should be populated with art or work that the current teens that are using the teen room should be for them to display, because they don't really have a connection to the art that is there because it was put up a while ago. So I think that having a rotating art display or work, a place where teens can display their work would be better because it kind of fosters a sense of ownership in the library. It gives them kind of a mode to display their creativity. The library is full of like empty wall space that could be used for this. Back when I worked in the public library in New Hampshire, we didn't have a lot of free wall space, but we did have a table, and what we did was cover a table and papers, like a big roll of paper, and kids could like scribble and draw on the paper, and we changed it out every week, but it gave them kind of like a place to put their own art on the table. And now in regards to inspiration space, the Cambridge Public Library is excellent with like inspiration and like inspiring young people with new technology. The Teen Room has a great relationship with the Hive, which is the makerspace, as I mentioned. The thing is, though they have great technology, it's kind of on the opposite side of the library from the Teen Room. One of my recommendations that I had was instead to move one of the 3D printer. They have three 3D printers, move one of them from the Hive to the Teen Room as kind of a display or an interactive display for the teens. So they can be there and they can see like how the 3D printer works. Back when I was working at the library, we had just gotten a new 3D printer, and teens loved just like watching how it worked and how it created objects through 3D printing. So I think by having that aspect in the teen room readily available for teens to watch and interact with, that would be excellent way to inspire teens to go down and interact with the Hive and learn more about fabrication. They also have a virtual reality lab, media lab. I just think that would kind of strengthen the connection between the Hive and the teen room. So that is all I have for you guys. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your semester.